You ever get a minigame in a game of Mario Party and you're all like, wow, what the fuck is even going on here? There's a handful of minigames throughout the series that are just genuinely weird as shit, and I'd like to go through a few I picked off the top of my head because I think about these sometimes. So in no particular order, let's see some weird shit. Mushroom Medic from Mario Party 4 isn't exactly weird in its gameplay, but it's more in how the gameplay ends. First of all, my eyes can't help but be immediately locked to the disturbing anatomical diagrams of Mario characters. What are you even doing here? Well, it's pretty basic. This is an extra room minigame, and it's one of a few one-player minigames that wouldn't really fit into the regular party mode. And like many other minigames in this game, this one revolves around the use of Rumble, the OG GameCube gimmick. The idea is that you go from patient to patient and have to figure out who's the odd one out. 4 share the same heartbeat rhythm, and one has a different pattern than the rest. Once you figure out who that person is, you select them and give them a pill. And if you are right, they celebrate and the next wave of patience comes in. That's not too odd. This concept has been seen a few times in the series since, but what is odd is how this minigame ends. You go on infinitely until you fuck up, and what happens when you fuck up? The sick patient actually fucking dies and sirens go off while everyone else just watches his body on the ground. What kind of shit is that? There's a few minigames I can think of where some kind of cartoonish death is insinuated, but this is the only one I can think of where you just actually watch someone die. I love that. If I had an actual complaint about this minigame, it's that the rumble doesn't actually get more difficult. There's just a pool of rumble patterns and strengths that the game picks from, and some are really easy. Actually, most are really easy. It's not like the game gets harder the further in you go. Your first set could be pretty tricky, and then your 50th be painfully obvious. I don't know why they wouldn't just design it so that after every 5 sets of patience, the sick and healthy rumbles just get closer and closer to each other. It's one of those games you kinda just have to purposely fuck up so you don't sit there playing it forever, which is a shame because otherwise it's pretty good. On to the next. This one's odd because it's a first-person shooter, but not in the traditional sense. Camera Shy from DS. There's a few shooter minigames in the series where you have to either hit people X amount of times or just hit the most people within a time limit. But I think this one just does it right. You go around and have to take a picture of every other player at least once. You can't win unless you've got everyone, and I think that works very well. In other minigames with similar rules, it can be annoying if you're having a hard time finding other people and someone else is just racking up points while you're doing nothing. But here, you know that nobody else can win unless they find you first, and you need them just as much as they need you. You can get multiple people in one shot, but you still have a short cooldown before you can take another picture, so you can't just spam. This is actually a fantastic and well-designed minigame, but it's just so bizarre for the series and platform. A first-person shooter controlled with a D-pad on a DS. It's so weird to even say. Not that that hadn't been done before, but it's still odd. Like many other minigames in DS, this one also has a dual variant that you would think sucks ass since there's only one other person, but it actually works very well for different reasons. In this case, there's tension knowing that once you find each other, it becomes a showdown to whoever gets the picture first, and that opportunity may show up every time you turn a corner. Overall, this one reminds me of Flash Forward from 10 or Slapperazzi from Super. It has that same, hey, check out the pictures you took thing going on. But those two have absolutely nowhere near as cool a setting as this one, in this weird alien crop circle in a cornfield. Moving on. Okay, so this one isn't really weird, right? It's pretty simple, but there's a reason I'm bringing it up here. This is Dizzy Dancing from Mario Party 2 reappearing in Mario Party the Top 100, but there's a big difference. The basic rules here are as follows. You get spun in the intro, your controls are all mixed up, and you have to figure out which direction was remapped to what position of the joystick. Alright, that's definitely something that's been seen in the series since 1999, but here, you jump around and collect the treble clefs. Okay. In the top 100, you have a 30-second time limit in which you have to collect as many as possible. Whoever gets the most wins. In the original on N64, it was just whoever got to the one in the center first, which you can imagine made for a pretty shit minigame since it would, on average, last less than 5 seconds. So you may be asking, what am I complaining about then? They fixed it in the top 100 to make it more playable and changed the rules so that the minigame doesn't last only a few seconds. But let me just ask you this. If the original minigame was so shit and broken that the rules needed to be changed so that it's in any way enjoyable, then why the fuck is it even in the top 100 to begin with? A minigame so good they had to redesign it to make it playable. And it's the same deal when this minigame came back in Superstars. I just love the idea of that. It was so bad that the rules needed to be changed, but it still made it to the top 100. How is that even logical from a creative standpoint? How is a minigame with a rule set change in the top 100 if it isn't even how it was played in the first place? This isn't even the same game anymore. It began existing and immediately made it to the top 100. What kind of logic is that? On to the next crap. Okay, so this one always stood out to me as one that not even the devs could make sense of. Willflower from Mario Party 5. This minigame is just a basic button masher, but what the fuck are you even doing? You're screaming at the flower and it's growing for some reason? Use the power of your mind to bring the flower back to health. What the fuck does that even mean? Scream at a plant until it lives. You can't make sense of this any way you try to look at it. What the fuck are they doing? I know button mashers as a genre of minigames are a pretty controversial one, but I think that if you can make them visually engaging enough, or use a combination of visuals, music, and build-up, you can even make spamming a button a minigame you get excited to play. But even the ones that are boring and almost have nothing going on in them still make sense. Like in Domination, you're hitting a hammer to build up a line of womps. In Mary Poppins, you're using spitballs to pop each other's balloons. In Pokey Pummel, you're smacking a Pokey's body until there's none of it left. Even in Slime Time from Mario Party 4, a minigame in which the context is large blobs of slime drop on us while we stand in a basement. Even that makes logical sense in that spamming the A button is getting us to run to the center and break out of the slime. What in the holy mother of fuck is happening here? It's like someone forgot to add something. What a bizarre-ass minigame. Anyway, let's keep going. This one always impresses me when I get it. Camera Shy may have been a first-person shooter, but it definitely wasn't the first first-person game in the series. The minigame itself is kind of weird and pretty basic. It's a duel in which you go around pointing your flashlight at rattling objects and have to find 3 characters. If the object you point your flashlight at has a ghost in it, then you get stunned for a few seconds. This one's heavily luck-based, but you still get shown what you should be looking for in the intro animation, even though you have no control over knowing which objects they're in. The weirder part, though, is how the models just kind of chill there after you find them. This one can end pretty quickly, which is a shame, but the amount of effort put into this is bizarre because when it burns down to it, all you're doing is pointing at things and crossing your fingers. And why are all these characters living together? There's so much lore that never gets explored. You can only assume, but I want to know why the fuck this is all happening. Then in the end, you all get trapped in a painting and ghosts laugh at you. Even though it's so weird, there's so much to look at and think about that I can't help but love this one. Like, why are they all together here and why are they hiding in pots? Did the ghosts trap them there? And then in the end, they trapped all of us, so it was all meaningless? It's fucking odd, but let's move on. Okay, this Mario Party 1 minigame holds a special place in my heart for being easily one of the worst minigames of all time, and I'm gonna explain to you why that is. First of all, what are you doing? In this 1v3, the camera pans up over a pipe maze, and then one player has to pick a pipe to drop a chest in. Then, as it goes down, it follows whatever the given path is. You can't really pay attention to the paths because the camera goes up too quickly, so you just gotta do the best you can to guess which pipe leads to you. Blah blah blah, you get what I mean. But let me just ask you, in every bad minigame you've played, what is the one single thing they all do that still make them acceptable from a design standpoint? What is the one single thing that is the entire point of a video game in general? That would of course be the fact that you play the video game. In this minigame, 75% of the players do nothing, and that's literally it. Not only is this minigame not good to begin with, but the majority of people don't even play it. How amazing is that? The one thing a minigame is supposed to allow you to do no matter how shit it is play it. This one's in a league of its own. The one player has 30 entire seconds to make a decision, and if they don't, it just defaults to whatever pipe is currently selected. So in theory, if the one player does nothing, then nobody plays. And realistically, if you're playing with CPUs and the one player is a computer, then there is literally no universe where any one human even has the opportunity to do anything. What a fucking awful minigame. This should have been one player. Imagine getting through a round on the board just to get stuck with this minigame, knowing you're about to waste 3 minutes of your life. What a waste of a round that would be. On to the next. Banana Split from Super isn't necessarily a bad minigame, but for the effort you have to go to just to play it, boy is it dumb. It's playable in Toad's Rec Room and is one of 2 minigames in the entire franchise to require 2 consoles just to play it, but is the only minigame in the franchise to require 2 copies of the game as well, and it's for 1 player only. What the fuck sense does that make? By connecting 2 systems together, you have to physically move the consoles around on a table to fully and properly connect 2 halves of a banana together. First of all, there's several half banana PNGs, but only 2 make a full banana, and you gotta figure out which 2 those are. That's the challenge. but I can't even begin to describe to you the joy it brings me to slide multiple $300 devices on a table and clink them into each other just to play a mildly fun at best minigame. You slide your finger across the screens to connect the banana, but the detection isn't always great, and you can imagine that the detection becomes even more tricky and worse to deal with when the multiple systems you're using are different models. This game came out when the only Switch model that existed was the original, and you can tell that that's the only one it was designed for. Otherwise, it's not unplayable, but it sure ain't great. There's 5 rounds and the goal is to just see how fast you can do it. Also, this doesn't have to do with the gameplay, but you can just imagine how much of a fucking nightmare pain in the ass it was to record and edit the footage of this. All for an ass minigame. And speaking of ass, oh my god, do we have a great joke of a minigame to talk about next. This one's in the same ballpark that Pipe Maze is in. Pitifall is a duel from Mario Party 6 and is one of the biggest wastes of time I've ever seen. There are 3 ropes and 2 players. Of the 3 ropes, only one of them leads to safety. Whoever happens to have picked that rope wins the duel. So that on its own is pretty lame, right? Like for a duel where coins or stars could be on the line, this is one stupid-ass minigame. I have no problem with luck minigames. If there's one luck minigame in each minigame type in a Mario Party, I don't mind because these games all ride off of elements of luck that make playing so much fun. Because sometimes you just need a random event to throw everyone off and mix things up. And I have no problem with that so long the minigame itself is visually interesting and does a good job creating tension and build-up. That's why a minigame like Bowser's Big Blast or a minigame like Hide and Go Boom works. The mix of music, setting, and anticipation make them interesting to watch, even though there's nothing you can do to manipulate the odds. And that's why minigames like Cointagious or Peer Pressure don't work. Everything about them sucks. But then there's this minigame that's just a completely different breed. There are 3 ropes, 2 players, and 1 platform. If you think about that for about 3 seconds, the issue here becomes painfully apparent. What if both players choose ropes that lead to peril? Then what? Well, let's just watch it in its full glory because words can't describe how horrendously stupid this shit is. Why even bother playing? If you both lose, then a fly guy just picks up someone at random and then that person is the winner. What? And either way, it's still luck. There is no skill in choosing a rope. What? So if you don't both lose, the winner is decided at random. And if you both lose, the winner is still decided at random. Why even bother playing? This is like someone forgot to finish this and then they caught it 20 minutes before the game shipped. What an absolute waste of your time. Quite possibly the worst and most meaningless luck minigame in the entire series. Good God. Speaking of meaningless, Seer Terror, also from Mario Party 6, is a pointless rare minigame that acts as some kind of weird-ass horoscope. There isn't actually gameplay here, and the entertainment you're getting out of this comes mostly from the animations you see when you pick a rope. But basically, you just pick one of 4 ropes, already off to a great start, and a random event happens. Then Bowser gives you a fortune. That's it. There's 17 different events that can happen, and all but 3 have 2 different fortunes, one of which Bowser will say. Some come down to getting crushed, others getting something good. Most are bad, but even the good ones make no fucking sense. Like the bad fortunes could be a basin dropping from the ceiling, a meteor breaking through the wall, Goombas robbing you, a fucking bomb. But then there's one where a black hole shows up out of nowhere and takes Bowser. Like what? And then you still get a fortune. This minigame obviously doesn't show up on the boards and has to be bought from the shop to play, but what an odd-ass thing it is. Just a fortune teller where most outcomes are bad. There's nothing else like it in the entire series. It's the only minigame I can think of where you can't win or lose. Before moving on, please allow Sellout Man 3600 to pop in quickly for this video's sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is your one-stop shop for cheap as shit game keys. PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. If it's a thing you plug into the wall and was made by a company that sucks, Instant Gaming sells game keys for it. Games from years ago and games that aren't even out yet. All keys are sourced from authorized distributors and completely legit. And with a 4.7 rating on Trustpilot, you can comfortably leave your front door unlocked tonight. If you'd like to support this channel and my drug addiction, consider using the link in the description to check out Instant Gaming and enter a giveaway where you might win a thing. Your support helps me do videos and other crap, such as paying off fines I received from the Rockland County Sheriff's Office. Thank you, Instant Gaming, for sponsoring this video, and thank you for supporting me crying about nothing. Now onto this crap.
Stop!
M.P.I.Q from 3 isn't necessarily terrible, but it is if you don't play this game religiously. It's a unique concept. You get asked questions pertaining to the game, and some are dynamic and change based on context. For example, if you're playing on a board, you might get asked a question about it. But then there's questions that make no fucking sense to ask. Some questions delve into your personal game data. Why the fuck would I know what the current record in Waterworld is? If you win because you know the current record set in Waterworld from Mario Party 3, I think you're still a fucking loser. Some are common sense, some require some knowledge of items and mechanics, but overall, this one's just kinda stupid. I don't think it's all that terrible, but imagine getting this when you could have gotten this, or this, or this. Instead, you get this shit. First to get 3 correct wins, and if you get one wrong, you get stunned for a turn. And I love how the CPUs act as though they don't know what's going on. They have immediate access to this game and all of its rules, but they have to sit there and think about which entry in the series this is. What a bunch of dipshits. Let's keep the trend of stupid going. On the spot for Mario Party Advance. What a dumb piece of shit. It's just Simon. When a minigame can't do anything unique and just has to be a repaint of an already existing game concept, it's definitely one you're gonna groan at when you get it. But this runs into the same visual dilemma that Willflower did. What the hell am I doing here? There's a line of womps and they just want you to poke their backs. That's fucking disgusting. That's the entire thing. Once again, not even the devs knew what's going on here. Just poke them where they tell you to. How are they telling me where to poke? Is this their floating hand? And why are they all lined up here? Why am I here just poking living cement? What was I doing that led up to this? I have nothing but confusion for this one. Advance has quite a handful of awful minigames, but none make as little sense as this one. This is one of those things where you just wonder how this thought even came to exist. Like if you're deciding to make a Simon game for a Mario Party, why did your brain lead to poking rocks with your finger? How did it get to this point? And while on the theme of womps, here's another one that blows my mind. In this 2v2 from DS, you blow into the mic to get a womp to crush the opposing team. I don't think anything about this minigame works. I think literally nothing here is at all something a person with a brain would say is good. First of all, blowing into the mic. I honestly thought that there was some context from my childhood where blowing into the mic was fun, but honest to God, looking back at it, I don't even know how Nintendo thought this would be a good mechanic for anything. Yeah, just get some kid to pass out while trying to blow a womp. Isn't that a great sentence? I did not enjoy blowing into the mic to inflate a balloon in Mario Kart DS. I did not enjoy blowing into the mic to play the flute in Spirit Tracks. And I do not enjoy blowing womps. This is like see which of your friends can prevent themselves from passing out the longest. If you smoke cigarettes and get this minigame, you might die. The best part about all of this is that on top of sucking in general, the minigame itself is 5 seconds long. Wow, they really just made a shit minigame and then said, yeah, it'll be 5 seconds long. The same rules apply to the dual variant of this one. There's other minigames in this game that use the mic, but I think the only one that does it remotely well in a way that works both logically and from a gameplay standpoint is Big Blowout, in which blowing into the mic at different intensities alters how much of the wick burns. Other than that, at least here we're actually blowing at the womp. We could have been doing whatever the fuck this is. Have you ever made or designed something that sounded good on paper, and then halfway through realized that it is not in any way, shape, or form going to actually come together well or work at all? That concept is perfectly encapsulated into Submarathon from Mario Party 5. One of the most pointless 2v2s in the franchise. The idea is that you mash both triggers simultaneously to accelerate this submarine. That's it. Okay, that's not particularly fun, but that doesn't make it special. No, it doesn't, but what does make it special is that only one person does this. And while that person does it, the other person actually does literally nothing. I'm serious. Then when the one person gets tired, you press X to swap positions with them and give them a break. Wow, what a minigame. Do a shit task, and when the shit task you're doing makes your fingers hurt, stop doing it and make someone else suffer. What a fun idea. You don't have to switch though, so again, this could theoretically be a situation where half the players don't even play. And regardless, in at least half of the minigame, there are people who aren't playing. The person doing nothing could press a button to make the mouth move though. How long can you suffer through an awful job before making your partner do it? Another classic. I've talked about this one before in my video about the Mario Party 4 Flash game, but I don't think I gave enough attention to how confusingly bizarre the actual context is. You control a pear with wheels. That is the controlling player. A pear with wheels. And since it's spiky, if you hit the wall that is unfortunately made out of balloons, you lose. There's 3 levels here, and it's an okay minigame. It's probably the best in that game overall. It's also the only instance of actual music in the entire Mario Party 4 Flash game, so that's a bonus. I have nothing more to say about this one. There are no words that can highlight the oddity of what's happening here well enough. Whoever came up with this concept for a minigame was not human. It's like an alien just found out what pears are and that spiky things pop balloons, and then they learned how to use Flash and got hired by Nintendo. I like the weird atmosphere in this one. Bob-omb Plague from Mario Party 7. In this 8-player minigame, everyone stands in a circle and passes a bob-omb around. That concept on its own is far from new, but I think of every instance in the series that does this, it's done best here. When the bob-omb explodes, the person holding it and both people next to them get knocked out and the circle shrinks, and every time it does, the background changes like a set on a stage. The music really makes it good and goes perfectly with the weirdly static visuals. This minigame was copied almost 1-to-1 for a team minigame in Super, but good God if it's nowhere near as good. There's no effort put into anything. The music sucks, the setting sucks, it's literally as basic as it could possibly be. Of all the hot potato style minigames in the series, none capture the intensity this one does. And it just goes to show how much visuals and music add to a minigame when these two are almost the exact same, but one is infinitely better.
Start!
The choicest voice is iconic, but people often forget the free-for-all minigame it's based off of. Utter nonsense. This shit is great. It's also the only other minigame in the series to require at least 2 systems to play. You hear a voice clip and have to mimic it. It's pretty easy to figure out that the game isn't actually going off of what sounds most similar, but just whoever matched the audio wave more. So if your opponent sucks, you can win by saying something completely different from the example clip. There's voice clips for each of the 10 playable characters, and it's fun to just dig around with them. Definitely one of the more unique uses of the mic in the series, and definitely an instance of it working. Along with requiring 2 systems, this is also a rare case of a minigame that requires at least 2 human players. This game has some weird stuff with that. There's a board in this game that specifically requires at least 3 humans to play. It makes sense though, but if you have no friends, that's what Choicest Voice is for. Just a 1-player version where you can try to get a high score. You still can play with up to 3 other people though, and an extra judge is added if there's 4 of you, but I don't know why in God's name there would be 4 of you. Before talking about the final weird minigame, I'd like to run through some honorable mentions that have some weird shit going on in them, but not enough to give too much attention to. The gameplay of Winner or Dinner is nothing special. In fact, it's kinda shit, but what's actually interesting is what happens when you're not playing. Mario Party 8 has some of the weirdest cutscenes of the entire franchise. A lot of minigames in the series have extensive intros and outros that have more detail than needed, and it's always nice to see devs go the extra mile, but it's like every single minigame in 8 has a weirdly bizarre and detailed cutscene that adds context that makes you question more than you would have otherwise. And don't get me wrong, I love it, but this minigame in particular just does something so fucking weird. First of all, it's a 2v2 coin minigame that doesn't need to be a 2v2. You collect coins and avoid the piranha plants. If you get nabbed by one, you get thrown out of the ring and pop back in a few seconds later. But regardless of how many coins you collected, or if you collected any at all, this is how the minigame ends after everyone celebrates. They just fucking die. What the hell kind of ending is that? Congratulations, you're all dead now. Like, what? And that's just actually it. There's plenty of minigames that have some kind of animation of the losers getting their asses kicked or something, but this is the only one I can think of where no matter how well you do, everyone dies in the end. I lose sleep at night over this one. Lumber Tumble from Jamboree. I find it unbelievable that people don't treat ND-Cube like the joke of a company they are. Simple idea. Keep moving to the right of the screen, stay on the path, avoid falling off platforms, and don't get caught by the shredder. Here's the problem. In this game, first place isn't the only to get rewarded, so second, third, and fourth place all need to be determined as well. Obviously, whoever falls off first is last place, and whoever lasts the longest is first place. But there's also an end to the path, so if you make it to the end, you win, meaning that there can be multiple first placers if multiple people make it to the end. The thing is, regardless of whether or not there is one person left, the minigame keeps continuing until it either reaches the end or the one player left falls off. Wow, well let's think about that. So with one player left, if they make it to the end, they get first place. And if they fall off the bridge, they also get first place. This is one of the most fundamental and basic concepts of game design. I don't know the words one could use to describe how fucking dumb this company is. So if there is one player left, they are factually wasting their time by not just killing themselves because they will get first place whether or not they make it to the finish line. It is the player's responsibility to stop the game from wasting their time. Truly incredible. You can keep playing for no reason because the game will just let you. The way to fix this is either by making it so that only first place gets rewarded, meaning that any and all players that reach the finish line get rewarded, or have the game just stop once there's one person left. How amazing is it that this subsidiary of Nintendo is filled with so many incompetent fucking idiots that this simple design concept was entirely overlooked, and the player's time is wasted unless they manually do the opposite of what the instructions say to do. This is so unacceptable, it's nauseating. This $60, now $80 game, developed for Nintendo using the most influential intellectual property in the history of the industry, lacks some of the most basic principles of game design to where it wastes your time unless you consciously do what you're told you shouldn't. What an absolute joke of a company. But people keep buying it, so we can all look forward to Nintendo's next Mario Party with even less effort put into it. We are letting them know that we don't care and will buy anything.
Ready? Go!
I wanted to throw in Daisy's Rodeo for Mario Party East simply because I honestly think this was an oversight. The game gives you about a quarter of a second to react to the on-screen prompt, and if you fuck up twice consecutively, you lose. If you've played Mario Party E, first of all, I'm sorry to hear, but you'd know that you get one attempt at a minigame, and the setup to just play it is such a long pain in the ass. So if you follow those rules, then you might as well just not play it and take the loss. Save yourself the time. I tried over and over and over, and it took me so many attempts to win just once. It's so difficult, it's ridiculous. No one is getting this in one shot in the middle of a game. It's not even that good of a concept to begin with, so it providing you with almost no reaction time just makes it an unplayable pile of ass. Ballistics from Mario Party 9 is a pretty good minigame, but it also falls into a category that only 6 other minigames in the entire franchise fall into. In Mario Party 9 and 10, when playing on a board, if you land on a Bowser space, there is a small chance that Bowser will have you play what is called a reverse minigame. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just want to do the worst. Whatever that minigame's rules are, just do the opposite pretty much. I think that of the 7 reverse minigames in the series, only 4 of them work well, and the ones that don't work so poorly, I don't even know how anyone on Earth with a pulse would let this get into a video game. This one is the most hilarious. The normal rules are just don't get hit, that's all. Avoid the bills. Last one standing wins. So what are the reverse rules? Well, the opposite of living is dying, so whoever gets hit first wins. And this is how that would go.
Start!
You can't make this shit up. Who in God's name did this? The first minigame to last under a second. You cannot convince me that ND is a legitimate game developer. This is a joke. I hate that these people have jobs. The only reason I'm mentioning this is because it's the only console Mario Party minigame that requires you to blow into the mic because that was just such a fun idea. You don't actually have to though, you can just press A. Mario Party 10 is one of the saddest games ever because of how horrifically badly it fucked up every single unique opportunity it had at the time and also will have ever had. You have 2 unique perspectives and 5-player minigames and you chose to blow. You definitely chose to blow. It's also really easy for the 4. This one just sucks all around. I'm mentioning Barrel Baron from 4 simply because of how bizarrely unfitting it is. Surprise, surprise, it's just a 1-player rumble minigame where you find spots where the controller rumbles. You want to see how much oil you can find within the time limit. The thing here that always struck me as odd is like, why am I looking for oil? This idea has been done a bunch since, but they all incorporate some Mario-themed element, whether that's treasure, fish, gems, but here I'm just straight up looking for crude oil. I've never been closer to passing out playing a minigame than I have this one, and it barely fucking works anyway. They thought blowing spit at your screen was so much fun they just had to bring it back over and over again. I don't understand how they expect you to play this. You have to put the system like at the farthest 5 inches from your face, and you still gotta pay attention and steer yourself. The blowing blows, so you can use the A button instead, but it still makes no sense. The way the boat accelerates is so inconsistent. Meanwhile, you're about to fucking die of a heart attack, all for a shitty minigame. Anyway, on to what I think is one of the oddest minigames in the entire series. Doors of Doom from Mario Party 4 is an extra room minigame and is the only minigame in the entire franchise to be both based on luck and allow you to set a record. And I'm sure you can immediately tell that goes with great reason. The idea is that you pick the left door or the right door. One leads to the next room, one has Bowser behind it. You want to see how many you can guess right in a row. That's it. And for the time it takes to leave the minigame, load the menu, and boot back in, it is so not worth it when you have a 50-50 on the game ending immediately. And you're seeing how many you can guess right in a row so you can set a record. Aren't records supposed to be impressive? What the fuck is impressive about this? It's complete luck. And I'd hate to ruin this for the millions of viewers this video won't get that were definitely planning on checking this minigame out, but there is no value to the choices you make whatsoever. The game wants you to believe that behind one door is a hallway and behind the other is Bowser, but in reality, the game immediately decides whether or not you lose the second you walk into a room. Whether you pick the left door or the right door, the game has already decided whether or not Bowser's going to be behind whatever door you choose. How sad is that? The thing that's really sad is that whether the game picks as soon as you walk in or if what's behind both doors is actually different, either way, you would have a 50-50 chance of moving forward, so the odds don't change. Meaning that the only purpose of the game giving you the ability to choose which door to walk through is to waste your time. It's fun to play like literally once, but after that, just forget about it. The setting and music is fun, so it's a shame that such an interesting concept got fucked like this. There's over 1,500 minigames in the entire series, and it goes without saying that some are just bizarre. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing, sometimes it means nothing. And sometimes you remember them, sometimes you don't. There's plenty more weird and notable minigames, so if you think there's one I should have talked about, leave a comment because maybe I'll look at more at some point in the future. If there's anything I've taken away from this, it's that sometimes an unmistakable pile of shit can somehow be more interesting than a masterpiece. I'm Bearman, and I've been wasting your time. Thanks for watching.